Mr. Gasparian, considering that relations between Turkey and the West, in particular the U.S., have deteriorated because of Israeli-Palestinian conflict, isn't it surprising that Pashinyan's treasonous regime is seeking to normalize relations with Turkey, thus sending a signal to the U.S. that it prefers Turkish brotherhood over the West?
It is an undeniable fact now that Russia, with Nikol's approval and active involvement, is relinquishing its control over Armenia to Turkey. That's why Pashinyan went to participate in Erdogan's inauguration, bowed his head and congratulated him, showing his submission to being Erdogan's subject. When Russia becomes so weak that it can no longer hold Armenia as its satellite, Pashinyan will not change Armenia's present pro-Kremlin position towards the democratic pro-Western orientation, as the West is expecting, and regardless how much his so-called pro-Western pundits want us to believe. Instead, he will posture Armenia under the pan-Turkic umbrella, which will inevitably result in Armenia becoming a Turkish vilayet. This Russo-Turkish transition is in full motion at this time, and the Kremlin-sponsored oligarchs of Pashinyan's regime are very happy that their dream of doing business with their Turkish brothers is becoming a reality, notwithstanding that it is against the national interests of the Armenian people.
Mr. Gasparian, it would seem that we should have taken advantage of Russia's weakening and moved towards the West. Then what should we do?
Yes, we should have, but we need to form a truly pro-Western government that will conduct such a foreign policy that will benefit Armenia. Case in point, taking advantage of the worsening Turkish-American relations by moving away from the Russian subjugation and Turkish expansionism towards a Western democratic orientation. However, as long as this aberration called Pashinyan and his cohorts are in power, we will not benefit from any opportunity that comes our way. In order to benefit from the escalation of hostilities in Turkish-American relations, it is necessary first and foremost to put the Armenian question back on the world table, and then must make the decisions of the League of Nations and the Wilson Arbitral Award subjects of main discussion and negotiation. But in order to raise these issues, it is a prerequisite to have a new national government, and that is what the U.S. expects from us. The United States wishfully expects that the government of Armenia not only would remember and recognize its national interests, but would also loudly voice those interests at every chance possible and demand its implementation from pertinent international bodies. And whenever Armenian national interests coincide with U.S. interests, especially in the context of escalation of hostilities with Turkey, the United States can serve our interests by raising the Armenian question along with the Kurdish issue to restrain Turkey's appetite for aggressive expansion and possibly even supporting the division and partition of present-day Turkey. This is simple truth and reality. One does not need to be a doctor of political science in order to understand this.
Mr. Gasparian, how far do you think this escalation of Turkish-American relations can go? Because Turkey's latest statements were openly hostile and antagonistic towards the U.S.
The aggravation of Turkish-American relations can ultimately lead to the partition of Turkey and the creation of Kurdistan. If Pashinyan continues on insisting that Armenia's territory is 29,800 square kilometers, then Van, Bitlis, Mush, Kars, Trabzon will become part of Kurdistan. Is that what we want? Then we will whine and complain that the U.S. gave our lands to the Kurds. Do you have any doubt that is what we will say? We always blame others for our mistakes. We will not admit that we were the idiots that willingly gave up their rights to those lands, which is same as refusing them. Then don't be surprised if America says, "You don't want those lands, then I will give them to the Kurds." I speak in a simple language, a bit primitive, so that all of this is as clear as possible for the ordinary Armenian people listening to us. You must stand up for what is yours, so that it does not become someone else's share. If you refuse, decline or reject what is yours, then someone else will claim what is yours and will become its rightful owner. If you abandon your car, then someone else can lay claim to it. If you disown your apartment, house or land, then your neighbor can come and seize it. This is a simple truth. Now Pashinyan says, Artsakh is not ours. Beyond Kapan is Avazlu, which is not ours. He says it is Lachin and not Berdzor, it is Konkandy and not Stepanakert, it is Shusha and not Shushi. Pashinyan leaves America with no other choice but to say that. You relinquish and decline that it's yours. So Aliyev is right that you were an occupier, You occupied Karabakh, which was not really yours. Your prime minister says that it's not yours, which means you occupied it. So Azerbaijan was right in taking it back. This is what is happening. Now that this is understood by most people, I want to know why aren't more people protesting against this course by coming to the Freedom Square, where the National Democratic Alliance has been holding the torch of resistance since August.